It's been a few weeks since you've asked me to read it. I guess it would be alright to read a few chapters. Give it here. Okay, let's see. What chapter did we end on? We finished 4 and we were on to 5. Are you ready? Tucked into bed? Ready to go to sleep to the nightmarish goosebumps can be? Okay. Just know I ain't sleeping tonight. Okay. I hit the ground hard, landing on my elbows and knees. My heart leapt into my mouth. I tasted blood. Get up, Emily was screaming. It got me, I cried in a tight, trembling voice. The fluttering in my chest had become a pounding. Again, I tasted blood. I raised my eyes to see Emily laughing. Laughing? It's just a tree root, she said, pointing. I followed the direction of her finger and instantly realized I hadn't been pulled down. I had tripped over one of the many uprooted tree roots that arched over the ground. I stared at the bone-like root. It was bent in the middle and looked like a skinny leg. But what was the blood I tasted? I felt my aching lip. I had bitten it when I fell. With a loud groan, I pulled myself to my feet. My knees ached, my lip throbbing, blood trickling down my chin. That was pretty clumsy, Emily said softly, and then she added, Are you okay? She brushed some dried leaves off the back of my t-shirt. Yeah, I guess, I replied, still feeling a little shaky. I really thought something had grabbed me. I forced a laugh. She rested a hand on my shoulder, and we started walking again, slower than before, side by side. Slender beams of light poked down through the thick tree leaves, dotting the ground in front of us. It looked unreal, like something in a dream. Some creature scamped noisily behind the tangle of low shrub at our right. Emily and I didn't even turn to try to see it. We just wanted to get home. It didn't take us long to realize we were heading in the wrong direction. We stopped at the edge of a small, round clearing, birds chirping noisily above us. A light breeze made the palm leaves move. What are those huge gray things? I asked, lurking behind my sister. Mushrooms, I think, she replied quietly. Mushrooms as big as footballs, I mumbled. We both saw the small shack at the same time. It was hidden in the shadow of 2 low cypress trees, beyond the field of giant mushrooms at the other side of the clearing. We both gasped at it in surprise, studying it in shock silent. We took a few steps toward it, then a few more. The shack was tiny, built low to the ground, not much taller than me. It had some kind of thatched roof made of long reeds or dried grass. The walls were made of layered of dried palm leaves. The door, built of slender tree limbs bound together, was shut tight. There were no windows. A pile of gray ashes formed a circle a few yards from the door, signs of a campfire. I saw a pair of battered old work boots laying at the side of the shack. Beside them were several empty cans on their side, and a plastic water bottle also empty, partly crumpled. I turned to Emily and whispered, Do you think someone lives here, in the middle of the swamp? She shrugged, her features tight with fear. If someone lives here, maybe he can tell us which way to go to get home, I suggested. Maybe, Emily mumbled, Her eyes were straight ahead on the tiny shack covered in blue shadow. We took a couple of steps closer. Why would someone want to live in a tiny shack like this in the middle of a swamp? I wondered. An answer flashed in my mind. Because whoever it is wants to hide from the world. It's a hideout, I mumbled, not really realizing I was speaking out loud. A criminal? A bank robber? Or a killer? He's hiding here. Shh. Emily put a finger on my mouth to silence me, hitting the cut on my lip. I pulled away. Anyone home? She called. Her voice came out low and shaky, so low I could barely hear her. Anyone home? She repeated, a little more forcefully. I decided to join in. We shouted together, anyone home? Anyone in there? We listened. No reply. We stepped up to the low door. Anyone in there? I called out one more time. Then I reached for the doorknob. Just as I was about to pull the crude wooden door, it swung open, nearly hitting us both. We leapt back as a man burst out from the dark doorway of the hut. He glared at us with wild black eyes. He had long gray-white hair, down past his shoulders, tied behind him in a loose ponytail. His face was bright red, sunburned, maybe, or maybe red from anger. He stared at us with a menacing scowl, standing bent over, stooped from being inside the low hut. He wore a loose-fitting white t-shirt, dirt-stained and wrinkled, over heavy black trousers that bagged over his sandals. As he glared at us with those amazing black eyes, his mouth opened, revealing rows of jagged yellow teeth. Huddling close to my sister, I took a step back. I wanted to ask him who he was, why he lived in the swamp. I wanted to ask if he could help us find our way back home. A dozen questions flashed through my mind, but all I could utter was, sorry. I then realized that Emily was already running away. Her ponytail flew behind her as she dived through the tall weeds. And a second later, I was running after her, my heart pounding, my sandals squashing over soft ground. Hey, Emily, wait up! Wait up! I ran over the rough carpet of dead leaves and twigs as I struggled to catch up to her. I glanced behind me and cried out in terror, Emily, he's chasing us! Well, that seems like a good spot to leave on a cliffhanger. Oh, I know, you love me so much. Well, I hope you sleep well tonight. Don't let the swamp man get you. Good night.